When a woman goes silent, it confuses many men. They think she's done. They think she doesn't care anymore. But in reality, her silence is one of the most powerful forms of communication. She's not gone. She's watching. She's observing the way you handle her absence. See, silence is not her weakness. It's her reset button. When a woman stops explaining, it's not because she has nothing to say. It's because she's said it too many times and it fell on deaf ears. She's no longer trying to convince you to see her worth. She's waiting to see if you will recognize it yourself. While you think she's detached, she's analyzing. Every message you post, every move you make, every moment of reaction, she's noticing. She's not reacting because she's already learned sometimes silence reveals more truth than confrontation ever could. Her silence becomes your test. Will you chase out of guilt or will you reflect out of growth? That's the difference between emotional panic and emotional maturity. She's not playing games. She's protecting her peace. Women watch not to control but to understand. When she sees you move recklessly, she learns where she truly stands in your priorities. When she sees you remain stable, calm, and introspective, she recognizes emotional depth, and that earns her respect. The truth is, when a woman goes quiet, she's giving you one last chance to listen without words. Because silence, when used by an emotionally aware woman, becomes her strongest language. So if she's gone quiet and you feel that emptiness, don't fill it with noise. Fill it with awareness, because she might still be watching, not to judge you, but to see if you've grown enough to meet her in emotional maturity. Her silence is not a wall, it's a mirror. What you see in it tells you exactly who you are. When a woman becomes silent after emotional conflict, it often confuses the people around her. Many assume she's detached, uninterested, or completely done. But in truth, her silence is one of the most powerful emotional responses she can choose. Female psychology reveals that silence, for a woman, is not emptiness. It's evaluation. When she stops speaking, she's not giving up. She's pulling back to observe, to protect her peace, and to regain emotional balance. Words are powerful, but they can also be wasted when they fall on ears that don't truly listen. So, when she goes silent, it's because she's realized that explaining, arguing, or defending no longer brings clarity. It only drains her energy. Silence becomes a form of self-preservation. In relationships, women are naturally emotionally expressive. They talk to connect, to heal, and to understand. So when that same woman suddenly withdraws, it's a sign that she's reached a limit. She's no longer speaking from emotion. She's thinking with logic. Her silence is her transition from reaction to reflection. It's the moment she begins to see things as they truly are, without the fog of attachment or the noise of justification. Female psychology shows that women often use silence as a way to reset their emotional state. When she stops trying to be understood, she's shifting focus from you to herself. She's beginning the process of emotional detachment, not to punish, but to protect her peace. But make no mistake, silence doesn't mean she's not watching. In fact, that's when she's most observant. While the world assumes she's disengaged, she's quietly watching everything. How you behave when she's not available, whether your actions align with your words, and how quickly you replace what once mattered. Her silence becomes her lens of truth. She's not reacting emotionally anymore. She's studying your patterns. She's measuring your sincerity, your patience, and your respect. This period of quiet allows her to observe without being influenced by words or empty promises. Silence gives her clarity, something emotion can easily cloud. What most people don't realize is that a woman's silence often follows a series of unheard expressions. Before the silence, there were words, soft ones, emotional ones, even painful ones. She tried to explain her needs, her boundaries, her emotions. But when those efforts were dismissed or ignored, she stopped. Silence is her way of saying, "I've said all I can." It's the moment she recognizes that continuing to speak only leads to misunderstanding or manipulation. So instead, she chooses quiet observation. It's not revenge, it's realization. She's realized that not everyone deserves access to her thoughts, and not everyone can handle her truth. Her silence is also a form of emotional intelligence. When emotions are high, confrontation often leads to chaos, but silence allows her to regulate herself. Instead of responding impulsively, she reflects deeply. She wants to understand her feelings before reacting to yours. That's emotional control, and it's one of the strongest signs of inner growth. In psychology, silence is often seen as a coping mechanism that allows space for self-analysis. For a woman, this space helps her differentiate between what's real and what's emotional residue. It's her moment of truth, when she asks herself whether she's fighting for love or for attention, whether she's holding on to growth or just to memories. And here's where the real power lies. Her silence forces you to face yourself. When she's no longer there to explain, justify, or argue, her absence becomes the loudest presence. You start to feel the weight of everything she used to give. The attention, the energy, the effort. You begin to wonder what she's thinking, what she's feeling, whether she's moved on or still watching. And that uncertainty is the emotional mirror her silence creates. It reflects your behavior back to you. Did you value her when she spoke? Did you listen when she tried? Did you take her peace for granted? Her silence makes you confront those answers without her saying a word. Psychologically, silence creates tension because the human mind craves closure. When someone stops responding, the brain starts filling in the blanks. It plays scenarios, replays memories, and searches for meaning. That's why her silence feels like a trap, because it draws out your true intentions. If you cared for her genuinely, her silence will make you reflect. If you were careless, her silence will make you restless. Either way, she learns more from your response to her absence than she ever could from your reaction to her presence. Her silence is not about control, it's about clarity. It's her way of separating noise from truth. While you might interpret it as distance, it's actually her most focused form of presence. She's not gone, she's just gone inward. She's studying what happened, what it taught her, and what she needs to do next. And when she finally decides to speak again, her words won't come from emotion. They'll come from awareness. So when a woman goes quiet, understand that she's not being cold, she's being conscious. She's reclaiming the energy she once gave freely. She's learning to value her peace more than her point. Her silence is her strength, her shield, and her signal that she's no longer playing emotional games. And while you might think she's disconnected, the truth is she's never seen things more clearly. Her silence isn't empty, it's full of truth. And that truth will either bring you closer through growth or distance you through realization. But either way, her silence will teach you something words never could. Emotional control is one of the most underestimated yet powerful traits a woman can possess. It's the quiet strength that allows her to stay grounded in the midst of chaos, to respond rather than react, and to protect her peace without needing to explain why. In the world of relationships and human interaction, people often mistake a woman's emotional composure for coldness, but that's far from the truth. Emotional control is not about suppressing emotion, it's about mastering it. It's the art of knowing when to speak and when to stay silent, when to fight and when to walk away. It's about recognizing that reacting in the heat of emotion gives away power, while responding with calm awareness maintains balance. When a woman has emotional control, she understands that not every action deserves a reaction. She knows that the moment she lets anger, jealousy, or insecurity dictate her behavior, she's no longer steering the situation, she's being steered by it. So instead, she practices restraint. She observes. She lets silence speak for her where words would only create confusion. This level of control doesn't come from indifference. It comes from deep self-awareness. It's the result of having felt deeply, having been hurt, and learning that impulsive reactions often create more damage than they solve. Her calmness doesn't mean she doesn't care. It means she's learned that caring too loudly can make her lose herself. In relationships, emotional control gives a woman a unique kind of power. The person who can remain calm in an argument often dictates the direction of that interaction. When she doesn't let her emotions spill out recklessly, she becomes unshakable. The other person starts to notice that they can no longer provoke her, that their words no longer get under her skin. That realization shifts the dynamic. Suddenly, she's the one with composure while others are left dealing with their own emotional instability. It's not a game, it's self-mastery, the ability to hold herself emotionally steady, especially in moments of tension, allows her to think clearly and make decisions based on logic rather than impulse. Emotional control doesn't mean she doesn't feel pain. It doesn't mean she's immune to disappointment or betrayal. What it truly means is that she has learned to process her emotions privately before expressing them publicly. She may cry in silence, write her pain out in a journal, or take time alone to understand what she's feeling, but she won't let those emotions dictate her words or actions in the moment. This control prevents regret. It saves her from saying things she doesn't mean or reacting in ways that could harm her dignity. She knows that emotions are temporary waves, and responding while they're crashing can drown both people involved. A woman with emotional control also becomes more mysterious in the eyes of others. People can't predict her next move because she doesn't give away her emotions easily. In a world where oversharing and overreacting are common, her restraint stands out, her silence during conflict, her calm tone in emotional conversations, her refusal to be dragged into unnecessary drama. All of these qualities make her magnetic. Others begin to respect her, even if they don't fully understand her. She doesn't need to shout to be heard. Her presence commands attention because she's not emotionally scattered. This kind of control shifts her from being reactive to being strategic. She doesn't play games, but she knows the value of timing. She understands that emotional stability is power because it allows her to choose, not chase. In relationships, emotional control often determines who holds the real influence. When one person loses control, shouting, blaming, begging, the other automatically gains the upper hand. The one who stays calm dictates the emotional pace. For a woman, learning this balance transforms how she loves and how she handles heartbreak. She stops trying to force understanding and instead allows space for truth to surface. She no longer needs to prove her worth through argument. She lets time and consistency do that for her. This quiet control disarms those who rely on emotional chaos to gain power. They can't manipulate her through guilt, silence, or provocation anymore. She's seen through those tactics, and her emotional balance protects her from being pulled into them again. Emotional control also allows her to see people clearly. When emotions are high, perception becomes distorted. You see what you want to see, not what's real. But when she steps back and regulates her emotions, she begins to notice patterns, inconsistencies, and truths she couldn't see before. She notices who apologizes only to escape guilt and who apologizes to rebuild trust. She notices who values her peace and who drains it. This level of awareness comes from her calmness. Because she doesn't rush to react, she gives herself the space to understand, to decide, and to choose differently next time. Ultimately, emotional control is not about being emotionless, it's about being emotionally wise. It's understanding that emotional energy is precious and not everyone deserves access to it. It's knowing that her peace is her power, and giving that away too freely leads to chaos. It's realizing that sometimes silence is the best answer, because silence speaks volumes where words would be wasted. The woman who has mastered emotional control doesn't need revenge or validation. Her calmness becomes both her protection and her power. When she holds that level of inner balance, She's not easily shaken by other people's inconsistency. She may still care deeply, but she no longer allows her care to consume her. She loves with awareness, not blindness. She walks away with dignity, not bitterness. And even in her silence, she stands strong because her emotions no longer control her. She controls them. That's the ultimate freedom, to feel everything, but still remain centered, calm, and in control. That is emotional mastery. And for a woman, it's one of the most powerful forms of strength she can